Xin chào everybody, my name is Viet and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is week 4 and the clip you're seeing in front of you right now was a couple hours ago when I was at my home gym rice climbing and I was doing the stripping, which I'm very grateful to be given the opportunity to do so. Anyways, let's jump back to Thursday and talk about the aforementioned rice climbing, which is my home gym. As you can see, I'm back from uni and I'm staying in London with my parents. And while I'm in London, my main gym has always been rice climbing. I've been climbing here for almost 2 years now. And something I wanted to discuss in today's video was the significance and the beauty of having a home gym. Especially in London, where it's very hectic and loud and crowded. Canning Town is fairly quiet, I'd say, and having such a good climbing gym located in such a cool area, it really helps, I think, it's like a change of pace from London. So as you can see, this was on Thursday, and I did take a 3 to 4 day rest week during my exams. So I was only able to film for 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I sort of imagined it like a 3-course meal. Like Thursday would be my starter, warming back up to the setting and trying to understand what I need to do, especially because I haven't climbed for so long. I'm just warming up and getting used to the route setting, which in my opinion has changed quite a bit. It used to be very strength orientated and there was a lot of crimping, but you can see here there's a lot of macros on the wall and a lot of dynamic moves. Here I'm trying a TC7, which stands for Technique Circuit. It's a new thing which the rice climbing have implemented, and the technique they've chosen for this set is, I think it's standing up tall, or I suppose like maximizing your reach in climbs. And I'm doing block 7 out of 8. But yeah, I wanted to speak about like just how important it is to find a home in climbing, because it can be quite daunting walking into a training facility and not knowing anyone for the first time. But I feel like instantly at rice climbing, I was able to find a home. The staff are really nice. The actual location, as well as the interior and the aesthetics, I think it really helps to give a really warm and friendly atmosphere, and like you just feel at home. Sometimes, you know, living in London, there's almost no space for you, but whenever I come to rice climbing, it feels like I have like 2 to 3 hours of just my time where I get to climb and just have fun. Here I'm trying a V4 Plus, and one of the goals that I set for myself was to be humble when I'm back in London and climb like V3s and even V4s, which I think are things that I would usually skip on, since I think that I'm, you know, at the level where I should only be climbing V5s and V6 and using my time on those. But something that I really like about this gym, and it really fits the way I think, is that the easiest climb that you can't do, or the lowest grade that you fall on, it teaches you a lot more about yourself and your weaknesses than the strongest or the hardest climb you can do. So yeah, keeping, you know, in check of your weaknesses and not letting yourself become a one-dimensional climber, really important. And as you can see here, I'm struggling on this really powerful and dynamic V4, and it's something that I wasn't able to do in this session, but I definitely learned the moves. And as you can see here, I'm kind of adjusting to the way that rice climbing now sets. It used to be very static, but now I'm expecting the dynamic moves. Something you may also notice is that I'm wearing my Unparalleled Souped Up. Personally, I think they are my favorite shoe out of the 3 Unparalleled shoes I have, being the Cubits, the flagships, and this. I feel like they are like the perfect balance of stiffness and softness, and like it complements the way I climb really well. It's very sticky, but also I can feel my foot, and I think it's the most comfortable out of the 3 as well. So yeah, it really lets me engage my toes and keep tension better, especially on these like slopey overhangs. This V4 Plus was really fun. I had to do this little foot swap. I was able to ignore the bottom sloper. I feel like it didn't really help me to do anything. So I just went up to these. They aren't so bad as long as you stay low with your hips, and then a good final hold. And now onto Friday, which is the quote unquote main course of my week. One thing I really like about this gym is that in the upstairs area, they have a really good training area with this gym facility. Like they have dumbbells, they have weights, and I'm able to do these finger curls before every session. The one thing that I'll be keeping myself accountable is my warm-ups, especially in London, since I have so much time and I have access to the right equipment, so I really can't be faltering behind on my warm-ups. One thing I really like to do before I start climbing are these like negative pull-ups and chin-ups, where you hold tension at the top and then release slowly. I feel like it really helps me to wake up my muscles and get ready to like put some stress on my forearms. Yeah, if any of you watching are in London, I would highly recommend rise climbing. I'm not sponsored or anything, but yeah, it's just so easy to get into climbing, especially at rise climbing. I remember I tried to go to Vauxhall, and there's a gym in Charlton as well, which is fairly close to me, but I just didn't have the same level of friendliness as rise climbing. I feel like, especially because it's an independent gym, there's no over commercialization. It's very for you and it's very tailored for you. And I feel like the relationship you can have with the staff here and the people who climb here are so much more authentic. But that being said, it's not like the other gyms in London are terrible. London is a very big place and there are a lot of gyms, so I will be trying out other gyms, definitely, for sure. I don't want to be like completely tunnel vision on one gym. I need to expose myself to different route setting for sure. But yeah, the main focus of this video, I really wanted to set myself some strength benchmarks so I knew where I was heading into summer and which I could use to compare myself at the end of summer. Obviously the numbers are just like there for the sake of progress or the sake of having a number, but more importantly, the way I want to improve is to be able to implement these strength improvements on the wall itself and actually be able to climb harder grades and implement techniques from the board and actually, you know, become a well-rounded climber, not just someone who is strong enough to pull, 60 kg. But yeah, one thing to note, my left arm is significantly stronger than my right. I'm not sure why, because I do write with my right hand, even though, I do other things like with my left hand. Like for example, today when I was stripping the wall, my main hand was my left. So there is a bit of imbalance, prior to this recording, the heaviest I've ever held with my right was like 50 kg. No, yeah, like 50 kg. So coming up to the high 50s, I was worried or slightly cautious that I shouldn't be over push myself. You can see that I'm more fidgety and I'm definitely more shaky on these. So even though this is a great way to measure strength, it is sort of risky to get injuries, especially on the thinner like 15 mil and the one finger pocket. So I feel like one precaution that I should take is definitely to stretch my fingers and warm them up correctly. Here, I think that's when I noticed that the goal should be around 60 kg to start off with. I don't think I should put too much strain on my right. But if the 60 kg lift did go well, which it did for my left, then I was going to keep increasing the weight slightly. Yeah, it doesn't really move as much as you see on the screen. But compared to the left, it just feels so much different. And it's sort of freakish, the difference between the two. Some other things I'd like to do over the summer. Because there's such a good board, which will feature in the last segment here at Rice Climbing, I do want to improve my crimp strength, as I've been saying. The board is much deeper than at Warwick, and the hold selections are much more old-fashioned, I'd say. It's much more crimpy, it's much more like small moves and like keeping tension on your feet rather than doing like big, massive dynamic moves. And another thing is definitely to maximize my body weight, as I would say, you know, losing a lot of fat but also gaining a lot of muscle. And hopefully that translates to obviously stronger fingers, but also being able to do like harder moves, since I would be technically holding myself for less weight. So to round out this little portion, I decided to test my 15 mil. My max on 25, as you saw, was 62, and I definitely knew that I could not do the same on 15 mil. So I set my goal at around 50 kg, and that would be a pretty good level, I think. At 40, both the right and the left felt okay, but one thing that I had to keep doing was brushing the grip itself, and also constantly re-chalking, because my hands are extremely sweaty, and like if I didn't, then I'd be dry frying off the thing all the time, which is obviously not good. But another thing I need to work on, or not work on, but like develop, is a training plan for this summer. I have about like three months off from uni, I think. So I really do need to utilize my time wisely. I think I'll be away in a couple of weeks' time in France, but I'll still obviously be climbing there. But while I'm in London, with all of this beautiful equipment and obviously access to the gym because it's fairly close to me, I know that I need to make a concrete plan and work on improving, I suppose, mainly finger strength, but also my technique. And one way to do that also is obviously to, you know, keep trying those technique circuits, but also, you know, doing all the V4s, doing all the V3s, and then only once I do those V3s, V4s, which I should be able to flash or like do in a session, then I'll give myself the opportunity to do V5s and V6s. Because back in the day, I would always just, you know, come to the gym and instantly try the V5 and the V6 and then ignore, you know, maybe a really crimpy V4 or a really dynamic V4, which I needed to do. But yeah, One thing I really like about rise climbing is that literally every single climb is fun. I mean, sure, the V0s and the VBs are there just to be, little intros for new people. But already at V1 to V4, that sort of range, the climbs are really unique and the route setting is really intentional. There's never like any freebies that you can get at Rise. And yeah, to round out this strength portion, I decided to do a little bit of pinching, which is one of my new strengths. But the problem with this piece of equipment was that it was completely metal, and that made like the friction extremely hard to master, I suppose. I kept slipping off the pinches, and it felt like a disaster waiting to happen. So I just stopped at 20. I don't think I'll be really focusing on my pinch strength because London is quite like finger intensive. So I'll just be focusing mostly on my finger strength. Here you can see that I'm able to do pull-ups off the bottom edge of the Beastmaker on the Beastmaker 1000, but I can't on the 2000s, which have the slope at the top. Another weakness of mine, which I never really get to expose myself to, is my one arm hangs. So yeah, I need to be working on that. I'm able to use the resistance bands or just practicing on the bar. Another really neat feature at Rise is this beautiful traverse wall. I always like to end my sessions on the traverse. It really helped me to pump myself out and just work on the micro details that you don't really see, such as straight arm climbing and using your hips. And into Saturday's section of the video, it was sort of optional since I'm back in London and my relatives are here to visit, so I didn't really need to take the session, but I did just want to tick off this TC7, which I really enjoyed. And the only difference from the falls that I had before was just engaging my left toe or left toe in the toe hook. And I spotted this V5, which was actually set by one of the people that I was stripping with. I wasn't really trying to try hard, and these holds, I think they're called smash it holds. They were used by Shota Amagasa, the World Cup winner, in like a previous set at Rise, where he actually set some boulders. So I wanted to try those holds. But anyways, onto the board. This beautiful board. I think it's around 40 to 45 degrees. And obviously, in my first year of climbing, I was not able to pull on any of these holds or do any moves. So it's quite nice to see the progress that has evidently shown itself since I'm able to do some of the climbs. Here, I'm trying this beautiful, flowy, pinchy line on these core holds. Unfortunately, I didn't really get the starting foot in frame, and here I'm fiddling around with my feet, so I ended up just refilming it. And I feel like a really nice benefit of having a fully set board rather than a spray is obviously the route setting on these boards are amazing. So the moves that you're learning and the holds you're using are obviously like tailor-made for a good climb. And you can just see here some really nice delicate moves and also some powerful moves at the same time. And yeah, this board, this set in particular, I don't know who said it, but in past times there was a set from Aidan Roberts and Jim Pope, and I was actually able to meet Jim Pope once at the gym. And yeah, this board has a lot of old school holds, as I was saying, such as these tiger, like leopard looking things. And they're really quite hard to aim into because obviously the divots and the different bits, it's really hard to understand what you're meant to be doing or like where to aim compared to like a traditional hold. But yeah, the board has a great mix of dynamic but also like tensiony moves. So it's really good for me to practice on this. And so far I've allotted only 1 day of 6 for boarding, but I might increase that to 2, seeing that I'm having some success, but also seeing that I can obviously fall on projects. But speaking about spray walls, I did want to make a couple of my own climbs, just for the sake of curiosity and just like trying out some new holds, since I won't be able to hold like all the holds. And yeah, but one thing I did notice when I was climbing the actual like sets, the feet are in like perfect positions, and it really promotes like 3 to 4 points of contact at all times. And that's definitely a thing that is really key on a steeper wall. Like in comparison to Warwick, I could cut loose and like just fly everywhere. But here, you really can't do that. You really have to like squeeze and like fully maximize your limbs, or else like you won't be able to stick onto the wall. I'm basically just saying that I need to keep tension. Anyways, this climb demonstrates that perfectly. You see I'm trying to cut loose and just like float into the pinch, but really I need to be flagging harder and keeping my tension. The reason why I decided to make a couple climbs at the end was also just to like keep my body rolling and keeping myself fresh, because I didn't really attempt many steeper and like consistently steep climbs, so I knew that there would be a gap in my like recovery from the 4-day rest week. So the boulder I've made is off this jug and this this crimp into a nice jug, and here it's the special move, I suppose, and a nice little match into 2 crimps. So just before this video ends, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching these videos and for liking and subscribing. I hope to upload a lot more videos during the summer since I have so much free time, and there will be a lot of videos since there are so many gyms that I want to go to in London. There's a new gym, a Japanese owned gym called Sen Climbing, I think, and it's in North Lambeth, I think. Other gyms that I've written down here on my notepad: Stratford City Bouldering, Vauxhall, I think West, because I went to East, or maybe it's the other way around. But there's one where there's an island and the climbing and the setting looks really good there. And Aldgate, which is from the same brand as Stratford. But the purpose of branching out, I think, is to really maximize my training rather than, rice climbing is quite small and there's only the upstairs and the downstairs. And like the holds, even though they do change, I need to like fully expand my exposure and also climb with new people, meet new people, and hopefully get better. So yeah, thank you.